Hello class, my name is Celeste George, and my article journal is entitled Juvenile Justice Reform. I chose this topic because my mother is an educator, and her work has motivated me to help children gain access to the tools they need in order to live up to their fullest potential. My paper first begins with discussing the history of juvenile law. This includes when children's actions and rights, or lack thereof, were governed by law for the first time. I then go on to discover the evolution of juvenile law and its societal influences. These influences shifted from faith-based to a more bureaucratic approach. The progressive era marked a huge turning point in juvenile law. It implemented practices that allowed the court to approach juvenile cases with a more paternal and holistic approach, as opposed to just focusing on punishment. These practices implemented include making sure juvenile cases were closed, meaning that the public could not view and sit in on cases. Also, records were always sealed. It also helped regulate a child's workload. This was very important because America was transitioning over from the Industrial Revolution. During that time, children were put to work at a very young age in factories or power plants. These harsh environments bred erratic and criminal-like behavior, which began the spark of child gangs in the country. I then go on to discuss what causes a child to commit a crime. There are 5 theories that I will define: the biological theory, the social disorganization theory, the cultural deviance theory, the psychological theory, and the social learning theory. The biological theory means that a child may suffer from a mental disorder or perhaps have a low IQ. When this is combined with an unstable environment, it often triggers or increases the likelihood of a child to act out and commit a crime. With the social disorganization theory, this means if a child is raised in an environment that lacks an opportunity or place to express themselves, they get bored and often look for opportunities in the wrong places, making them more likely to commit a crime. With the cultural deviance theory, this means that the child is already exposed to a certain lifestyle, and that lifestyle resonates with them sometimes for the rest of their lives. So if the child moves to a different neighborhood, but that neighborhood still lacks the proper resources or lacks opportunity for the child to really excel, they're going to act out and fall back on those customs that they've learned at a very young age. In the psychological theory, the child is often battling with what is right and what is wrong. For example, if a child is raised in a certain religion and anyone who doesn't believe what they believe is sinning or committing a wrong act against the being they believe in, then it is okay to kill them in the eyes of their religion. Now, if the child acts out on this, they don't necessarily believe they've done anything wrong because according to the way they've been raised, they've done right. And lastly, with the social learning theory, this is often applied with peer pressure. So if a child starts off in a pretty decent neighborhood, but then they move to a neighborhood that again lacked opportunity and the proper resources for them to express themselves, they will often follow the trend. If it's trendy to engage in criminal acts, they will go with that because that is now the new social environment that they are now living in. All of these theories are covered in the totality of circumstances. The totality of circumstances is something that is considered in every juvenile case and often makes or breaks it. The totality of circumstances are basically a list of circumstances that can contribute to the reason the child has committed a crime. The court uses these to make sure that they are going to instill the proper rehabilitative measures so that the child can be brought up in the best environment and they can reduce the likelihood of the child committing a crime again. Now, I'm going to further discuss how Florida is engaging in juvenile reform. The Department of Juvenile Justice is a program in Florida that focuses on 3 pillars. These pillars are family engagement, trauma-informed care, and gender-specific programs. Family engagement means making sure that there are strong family ties for the child and that they are brought up in a very safe environment. The trauma-informed care deals with situations if the child is under stress, if something happens such as a death in the family, or undergoing extreme money circumstances, any type of trauma that can be inflicted on the child that causes them to feel unsafe or commit criminal acts. With gender-specific programs, this helps the child with sexual orientation and helping them navigate through that. A lot of children are often abused because of their sexual orientation, which also causes them to act out. So it helps provide a safe environment for them to explore their orientation. Additional efforts to help juvenile delinquents has been shifting the responsibility of their actions onto the parents. For example, in the state of Florida, any auto or property damage that a child causes, the parent automatically assumes the responsibility. Additionally, Florida Statute 985, Section 2 lists rights and protections that children are entitled to. If any of these protections are violated, the parental figure is automatically held responsible and is punished. In teenage courts, children are often engaged in many rehabilitative measures, such as Alcoholics Anonymous, dealing with drug abuse, any mental disorders. These rehabilitative measures help restore the child's well-being and make sure that they are put back in society in the correct mindset and in a stable living environment. They also help get to the root of why the child did what they did. With the 2018 Juvenile Reformative Act, children are safeguarded from the injustices that are withheld in our criminal justice system. But there is still more work to be done. The education system plays a huge role. When schools are underfunded and they lack specific resources, children cannot engage in extracurricular activities, causing them to get involved in the wrong activities. Also, it has been discussed that caseworkers should represent children in cases instead of court-appointed attorneys. Oftentimes, these caseworkers or social workers have a deeper connection with the children, and they know the whole reason or environment that the child has been brought up in, and probably the reason why they committed their crimes. But as I've said, it's a holistic approach with children. They cannot be looked at in just one eye as just a person who committed a crime, because there are always many factors as to why that child is the way they are. Thank you.